Hello, this is Henry Halladay, and I want to welcome you to the continued series of Updating Technology podcasts. This is number 16, and I'm glad you could join me today. First, let's take a quick review across technologies. Financial, we're still waiting official word on the status of U.S. digital dollar. Inflation seems under control, and now we may expect an interest rate reduction by the federal government by at least 1/4 point before the end of the year. Food prices are still high, and there's no relief in sight. Manufacturing. After strike settlements, automotive manufacturing is back on track, except for shortages of key components such as batteries, electronics, and key workers. More robotics to be assumed as contributors to factory labor shortages for the long-term usage. The use of artificial intelligence for auditory communication between cobots and human workers is on the near-term horizon. Business. Still more consolidation to be expected as the medical and drugstore businesses experience budget problems. Key worker shortages, bad working conditions, and wage demands are involved. It might be noted that Boeing is now requiring all workers to report full shifts and with increasing vigilance on quality controls. Medical. Continued knowledge in the understanding of the human brain and DNA chain is likely to aid in animal organ transplants in humans. More on these topics later. Security. The newest revelation about artificial intelligence is the misuse for media generation of art, music, and scripts using copies of written text, images, and verbal recordings, images and other media or documentation. This could create a real crisis in the upcoming elections. That is, what is the truth and what is fiction? Aerospace. We are awaiting the next launch of the Man on the Moon mission scheduled now for next year. Hypersonic rockets are now considered the biggest threat to world peace, with little discussion on defense prospects. Computing super farms continue to expand with exceedingly high energy demand per site. A deployment of Operation Mini nuclear fusion capabilities in Japan is complete. A realized cost of investment is still to be established. Several similar USA fission sites are still under construction to demonstrate the smaller footprint and equivalent energy production of that existing fusion facilities. The payoff is a smaller footprint, no radioactive waste, and more cost-effective implementation and operational costs. Cost overruns so far are part of the lack of scheduled completion of these sites and our current issues. Robotics. Robots are now appearing in farms throughout the country. These robots are plowing fields, seeding crops, fertilizing, and harvesting crops. Using GPS tracking and remote monitoring, these tasks are being accomplished with the process and efficiency with no human aboard. More cobots are appearing to enter the commercial roles for dispensing products, mobile deliveries, and servicing. Artificial intelligence is finding a way into robots to aid in verbal communication with people to increase the interaction and cooperation between humans and robots. And now, let's take a look at some specific technologies. Financial. The schedule for a digital dollar is still to be announced, and further details are now expected early next year, probably after the elections. One must expect that the detailed schedule has to be very complex, and the actual conversion period quite long due to the expected worldwide interaction between digital and real currencies. Gradual phasing should be expected, and the particular details could be interesting. Cryptocurrencies. Still unregulated, but rapidly generating changes seem to be part of the interest. More people seem to be supporting crypto as another investment opportunity, even there is no physical resource as a physical basis. The government seems to treat crypto as a commodity and gain losses treated as such for taxing. Even I have invested a token amount through my broker to test the potential, and so I could say I didn't miss an opportunity. Thus far, I have seen a profit. Manufacturing business. Integration. Increased robotic applications are continuing to appear, particularly in the distribution and delivery applications, and now are expanding to automated delivery systems, including airdrops, from pilotless drone. This is particularly important for rural locations, that is, where participants are far apart. Transportation. Driverless, that is, robotic trucks, are increasing, especially for long-distance hauling in the south and west, where there are long stretches of desolate highways and remote individuals. Satellite tracking, 360 sensors and cameras with two-way data links are also used for safety. Expect further development of artificial intelligence applications to improve the safe use of driverless vehicles on the road, in the skies, and waters. As I mentioned, the use of 360-degree cameras and numerous motion sensors, together with integrated processors using AI, can significantly increase safety. Robotics. There's been continued advances in industrial robotics, with concentration on robots that work alongside humans and with the use of AI, artificial intelligence, for verbal communication with robots to increase the interaction between humans and robots. One area for robotics has been very successful in handling boxes, especially heavy ones, in warehouses and distribution centers. This effort has been to demonstrate that robots can work in tighter spaces for extended hours and sometimes more efficiently, especially in loading and unloading trucks. Due to the shortage in skilled workers, this has been especially important to the long-term use of robotics to working with humans in filling positions where they can help supplement human workers. This is specifically in hazardous, dangerous, and monotonous environments. Having robots with wheels rather than legs and feet may also have advantages, especially in manipulating heavy loads in tight spaces. Other advances being pursued in robotics include using artificial intelligence to enable for robots to communicate verbally and thus use speech to respond to human communication and take appropriate action. This may depend on the new high-speed internet using supercomputers to take advantage of new architectures and internet links. Advances in specially tailored AI algorithms should also be looked to improve local human-to-robot interaction. Medical. A significant advance in the treatment of Tourette's syndrome, that is tics or sound characteristics, has had a significant improvement and advance through gene splicing. This process requires identification of a particular portion of the DNA change that is not normal and what to replace it with. Research into Tourette's has yielded a significant advance to identify likely areas and what and where to perform the splice. Recent advanced procedure was also improved and applied to sever Tourette case with outstanding results, more than 90% recovered. This is a remarkable advance in gene splicing to cure human frailties. An operation was required within the victim's brain where previous research has identified the effective region and where the modified DNA strain could be inserted. Security. The continued vulnerability of major servers remains a continued issue with worldwide internet. This would appear to be a viable application for artificial intelligence once a good set of identifying characteristics can be established for training systems and locating and removing vulnerabilities. Artificial intelligence. The use of AI, artificial intelligence, has continued to expand to improve user productivity, expand utility, and expand the recognition of systems and surroundings. This is particularly true of on-the-road vehicles, which are unmanned, where our environment is continuing to change, sometimes dramatically. To illustrate, I purchased a new 2024 Lexus NX Hybrid, which incorporates 360-degree sensors and cameras for near-vehicle motions such as other vehicles, people, and other obstacles to provide alerts and/or braking action if required. This Lexus also provides a large-screen console with a local map and route guidance, including turn-by-turn voice guidance. The 360-degree suite of cameras and sensors, together with a digital rear view mirror camera, provides an improved view of what is happening around the car, particularly in traffic and for parking assistance. This capability is equivalent to my home video and audio system that uses multiple cameras, a Ring doorbell and Ring floodlight camera to status my home with motion detection and alerts, but in a static environment. This Lexus vehicle is not a level 3, which means totally hands and eyes off system, but does provide assisted driving for lane, speed, and distance maintenance. I'm sure this type of capability will find its way into automotive and other systems before too long. My car driving system works well day and night with only light touch of the steering wheel for highway hands-off driving. I have noticed that the advertised hands-free systems are shown on clear, straight highways and are well marked. I feel better if I know if there's a driving issue that I am the ultimate controller. Home automation. Years ago, I bought a glass range top with 5 burners and digital control panel for ease of use. Well, the range top failed. That is, the controller that controls the elements failed. And the only clue, besides not working, was an error code 0225, for which not even the manufacturer could interpret. Because this unit is more than 10 years old, I decided not to attempt to repair, but to buy a new one. However, I found my home wiring for the range was out of code compliance, so I had the wiring replaced, which was not too costly. But well, now I have a functioning range again. Energy technology, solar. Advances in solar array materials and installation improvements have made solar a great investment. My own system is over 20 years old and still functioning well within the estimated 10 to 20 year payoff. New systems greatly improve the efficiency, installation, and size over this old system. In my area of Washington State, the winter sun availability is only about 10% of what summer provides due to the lower position of the sun on the horizon and, of course, much cloudier skies. Still, on a yearly basis, over 20 years, including electricity that I sell back to the power company, I get virtually free electricity. There is no maintenance other than maybe cleaning the panels once a year because rain contains dirt. Update of my solar power system. I've discussed in the past, I can monitor solar power through a monitor called eGauge that records in kilowatts supplied by the array on a second-by-second basis. I've taken data and created a graph of the yearly output on a monthly basis, see Figure 1, and a graph of the summary, which is the total year out, Figure 2. The first emphasis is on a variation of seasonal effects, where the second is emphasis on consistency per year. I hope you find this of interest. Wind. Wind farms are still in existence and increasing, but as I stated earlier, the significant amount of real estate required for energy return is large. Ocean-based wind turbines are also being added with servicing by ocean vessels that were being used previously to service oil wells. Geothermals. Still limited since interaction is dependent on the depth from the geothermal layer. Nuclear reaction. A similar advance in nuclear fusion reactors has promised a significant reduction in size, cost, and elimination of nuclear waste. A recent announcement from Japan that their first fusion reactor is now online, although not yet producing enough electricity for a positive return on investment. As I mentioned earlier, this latest type of reactor produces no radioactive waste or radiation and can use spent waste from existing fusion reactors. Several of these sites are now under construction in the U.S., but are still 1 to 2 years for producing electricity. In the meantime, several multi-megawatt conventional nuclear reactors based on a Westinghouse 1700 design are being constructed throughout the world, including U.S., China, and Europe. My car evolution report. After waiting through COVID and recovering period, I bought a new 2024 Lexus NX 350 Hybrid, which is a major upgrade in technology. I believe this car is a preview, in one form or another, what all cars will have in the future. Features: hybrid, 30 to 40 miles per gallon, 350-mile range, all-wheel drive. Heads-up display, a projection on the lower portion of the driver's front window just above the steering wheel that displays driving information such as signs, speed limits, and other relevant information. The large 14-inch multifunction display for maps and guidance routines, music, radio, Bluetooth operation and control and information, system status and information, 360-degree view of parking and stopping. Other vehicle features include 360 degrees for motion, safety alerts, and view. Verbal route and visual trip guidance and system status. Voice assistance for route guidance. Keyless entry and operation. Foot control of rear hatch opening. Driver-assisted steering, throttle, and collision avoidance, which is not completely eyes off or hands-free. At least some touching contact with the steering wheel is required. Mobile phone access and vehicle status, including tire pressure, fuel, and operating status, in addition to hybrid battery or gasoline consumption. And a final feature is 1 flat tires where no spares required. We can see pictures of these instances as the picture of the Lexus 24, garage parking, heads-up display, console, cat helping, which I'm sure you'll find amusing, 3D stop view, 3D parking view, route guidance, and backup view. As a final note, I have used my solar performance monitor to reduce 12 years, almost 20 years of data into 2 graphs. The first graph shows total power by month over the years, illustrating a fairly even yearly production of power generated. The second graph shows a little degradation performance over the total power collected after the initial steady state is reached after the system is started. Well, this is it, and I do hope you enjoyed it and look forward to having you join me again for the next podcast. Thanks again for joining me today. Bye now.